Global Demography and Global Migration.
This is for educational use only. Our group is allowing our instructor, Mr. Roldan Ardines, to use this as an educational material. Our objective is our fellow classmates may be able to learn the following. 1. To understand regional demographic changes and their socio-economic impacts. 2. Understand the economic, political, and environmental factors that influence migration patterns and routes. 3. Assess the effects of migration in labor markets, remittance, and economic development in both origin and destination countries.
Good day everyone, this is for educational use only. Our group is allowing our instructor Mr. Roldan Ardines to use this as an educational material. So my topic is global demography and migration. In social science, demography refers to numerous techniques that can be utilized to statistically assess the population of a given area. Demographers can work for research institutions, government, and other bodies. They may study the geography, distribution, and movement of human population or compile statistics such as birth rates, etc. As its name suggests, global demography is the study of the worldwide population rather than the population of a specific country, region, or city. Global demography is useful because it provides the big picture of the entire human population without influence from local economic, cultural, or geographical factors. It provides data about the past, present, and future of human society as a whole. Global demographic statistics can also provide a base for comparison against more specific.
Global migration. Global migration refers to the movement of people from one country or region to another for various reasons, such as economic opportunities, family reunification, escape from conflict or persecution, or simply seeking a better quality of life. It's a complex phenomenon shaped by socio-economic, political, and environmental factors. Global migration has significant impacts on both descending and receiving countries, influencing demographics, labor markets, cultural diversity, and social dynamics. International migration has a complex relationship with global governance, with the International Organization for Migration, or IOM, being one of the few truly global issues with a dedicated UN agency. The integration of IOM in the UN system remains contested, with no single legal or normative framework for all migrants, particularly irregular migrants. The international community has railed behind the Global Compact for safe, orderly, and regular migration, which aims to promote more coherence in international responses to migration. The draft does not make bold propositions on global governance but identifies guiding principles and 22 objectives to promote more coherence. Projections for the future of migration may indicate a new era of reluctant globalization, with increasing efforts to harness its patterns and outcomes.
Good afternoon everyone, good afternoon sir. I am Cadet Albisa Jason. So our topic is what is population and demography all about. Population and demography are fields of study that focus on the characteristics and dynamics of human populations. So population, it refers to the total number of people living in a particular area, region, or country at a given time. Population study examine various aspects such as population size, distribution, density, growth, rate and composition, age, sex, ethnicity, and etc. Those are example of population. So demography, it is the scientific study of human population, including their size, structure, distribution, and changes over time due to the births, deaths, migration, and other factors. Demography also explores patterns and trends in fertility, mortality, marriage, and migration, providing insights into dynamics of population change. Overall, population and demography play crucial roles in understanding social, economic, and political phenomena, as well as informing policy making and planning at various levels.
Sir, good day classmates. I am here to explain about the theory of demographic transition as it affects global population. So, the demographic transition is a theory that describes how population change over time as societies undergo economic and social development. It explains the relationship between birth rate, death rate, and population growth in different stages of development. And in these stages, there is 4 stages of development. And the first stage of development is the high birth, high death rate. In this stage, both birth and death rates are high, resulting in relatively stable size population. So this stage is typically a pre-industrial societies where limited healthcare and high infant mortality lead to high death rates, while birth rates compensate their losses for these losses. So it is a balanced stage. And the second stage is the decline in death rates. So from the name itself, decline of death rates, so improvements in healthcare, sanitation and nutrition lead to significant decline in death rates. So there is a free healthcare maybe, or there's access to healthcare. So despite this decline, birth rates remain high, resulting in a rapid increase in population size. This stage is often called the population explosion stage. In short, the death rate is lowered but the birth rate is so high that the population growth is rapidly increasing. So that's the second stage. The third stage is the decline in birth rate. So in this stage, birth rates begin to decline due to the 2 factors such as increased urbanization, education, and access to family planning. Death rates continue to remain low or decline slightly. So slightly. The gap between birth and death rates narrows, leading to a slower rate of population growth. So in this stage, it is basically saying that there is already an education passed on. So it is the start, not yet balanced, but the start of a declining of birth rates and also the death rates. So the fourth stage, so the last stage, low birth and death rates. In this stage, the final stage, both birth and death rates are low, resulting in stable population size. This stage is characteristic for development for developed country, where most of the population lives in urban areas and there is widespread access to education and healthcare. So from the word developed, only few countries are at the stage 4 or the final stage, the low birth and death rates. So That's what it says. So, in short, the demographic transition theory helped us understand how population evolve over time and provide insight into the factors that influence population growth and structure. So from the word evolve, so it is a natural phenomena for us humans.
Good day, sir. I am Agent Cadet Alimurin Jumel, and my topic is what is global integration in a contemporary world. So, global integration in the contemporary world refers to the movement of people across borders for various reasons, such as seeking better economic opportunities, fleeing conflict or persecution, reuniting with family, or pursuing education. It is a complex phenomenon shaped by economic, social, political, and environmental factors, and they are the key traits. The first is economic integration. Many individuals migrate in search of better job, prospects, and higher wage, often from developing countries to more developed ones. Second is refugee crisis. Ongoing conflicts, persecution, and human rights violation for millions to flee their homes, leading to significant refuge crisis globally. So third is climate change, environmental degradation, and natural disaster increasingly drive integration as people seek safer and more sustainable living conditions. Fourth is urbanization rapid urbanization is many parts of the world attracts migrants to cities in search of employment service and a higher quality of life. So family recognition. So family migrate move to join family members who have preservedly integrated, contributing to family recognition policies of various countries. So, irregular migration. Some individuals migrate through irregular channels, often facing risks such as human trafficking, exploitation, and detention. So, challenge political. Migration often spark debates around national identity, cultural preservation, and economic strain, leading to anti-immigrant sentiments and restrictive immigration policies in some countries. So, integration and assimilating migrates to host societies passes challenge related to language barriers, culture, different and access to education and healthcare. So, human rights. Integration, especially refuge as asylum seekers, face rights, abuse, discrimination, and denial basic rights in both transit and destination countries. So, brain drain. The immigration of skills workers from developing countries to developed ones can exacerbate skills shortage and hinder economic development in the countries of origin. So, health concern global integration also raises public health concerns such as spread of infectious disease and access to healthcare service for migrants. So this is the response. International cooperation addressing the complexities of global integration requires collaboration among nations to develop comprehensive and human integration policies. Humanitarian aid. Providing humanitarian assistance to refugees, internally displaced persons, so crucial addressing immediate needs and protecting vulnerable population. So, integration policies, implementing inclusive integration policies that facilitate mitigate social, economic, and cultural participation, and how societies can foster social cohesion and mutual understanding. Addressing root process, tackling the root process of integration, including poverty, conflict, and environmental degradation, is essential for long-term solution to integration challenges. So, labor mobility programs. Developing labor mobility schemes that match labor supplies with demand can benefit both sending and receiving countries while safeguarding migrant rights. So, in conclusion, global integration is a multifaceted phenomenon with significant implication for for individual societies and states worldwide. Addressing its challenges requires a comprehensive and collaborative approach that priorities human rights, social inclusion, and sustainable development.
So, labor migration. Labor migration refers to a movement of people from one place to another for purpose of employment. So, this movement can be within the country, or that is called internal migration, or between countries, international countries. Labor migration has been significant aspect of human history, driven by various factors such as economic opportunities, political instability, social networks, and demographic changes. So there are two types of labor migration. We have the temporary or the permanent migration. So temporary migration often involve seasonal work or specific job contracts, while permanent migration involves settling a new location for an extended period or indefinitely. Labor migration can pose various challenges and risks for migrants, including exploitation, abuse, discrimination, and precarious working conditions. Migrants may also face languages barriers, legal barriers, cultural adoption challenges, and social isolation in their host countries. So, the policies responses is governments and international organizations develop policies and regulations to manage labor migration, including visa systems, work permits, labor market assessments, and integration programs. Next is forced migration. Refers to a displacement of individuals or groups from their homes or habitual places of residence against their will. These types of migration often occurs due to factors such as conflict, persecution, violence, human rights violation, natural disaster, environmental degradation, or other circumstances that endanger the safety, security, or well-being of individuals or communities. Forced migrations can take several forms, like, for example, refugees, people who flee countries their origin due to well-founded fear of persecution based on race, religion, nationality, political opinion, or membership in a particular social group are considered refugees. So they seek asylum in their other countries and cannot return home safely.
Good day, sir. I'm Engine Cadet Lopez Ferdinand. My topic, what are the four types of global migrations? International treatment migrations refers to the phenomenon of individuals moving to another countries to spend their retirement years. This trend has become increasingly popular for various reasons, including lower cost of living, better climate, access to healthcare, and cultural attractions. Retirees might choose to relocate to countries with favorable tax policies or where their retirement savings can stretch further. Popular destinations for international retirement migration include countries in Southeast Asia, Central America, and Europe. Internal migration refers to the movement of people from one place to another within the same country. This can include moving from rural areas to urban centers, from one city to another, or from one region to another within the same country. Internal migration can be driven by various factors such as economic opportunities, job prospects, education, family, reasons, environmental factors, or seeking better living conditions. It has significant social, economic, and demographic implication for both the areas people are living and the areas they are moving to. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, good day everyone and good day sir. My topic is all about why there is a global migration. Okay, global migrations occurs for various reasons, including economic opportunities, political stability, conflict, environmental factors, and family unification. People migrate in search of better life conditions, safety, education, and employment opportunities. Economic disparities between countries as well as demographic shifts and advancements as transportation and communication also contribute to global migration patterns. Why there is a global migration in contemporary world? Okay, in contemporary world, global migrations permits due to a combination of factors such as economic globalizations, political instability, armed conflict, environmental degradations, and demographic abilities. Economic disparities between countries, along with advancements in transportations and communication, make it easier for people to move across borders in reach of better opportunities. Additionally, conflicts and environmental disaster force many to flee their homes in search of safety and stability as well. That's all of my topic. Thank you, sir, and good evening and good afternoon, everyone.
My topic is all about what are the advantages and disadvantages of sending and receiving countries. So, the advantages and disadvantage of migration can vary depending on the whether you're looking at it from the perspective of the sending country or the receiving country. So, advantages for the sending countries. Remittance. Migrants often send money back home when can contribute to the economy of the sending country. Second is brain gain. Some migrants acquire new skills and knowledge abroad and may return home with these skills contributing to the development of their home country. Third is reduce unemployment. Immigration can alleviate pressure on the job market in the sending country, reducing unemployment rates. Disadvantages for the sending countries. Brain drain. Skilled workers leaving the country can lead to a loss of talent and expertise, hindering economic development. Second is dependency. Some countries become overly reliant on remittance, which can have negative effects on local industries and economies. Third is aging population. Immigration of young people can exacerbate demographic imbalance, leading to an aging population in the sending countries. Advantage for the receiving country. Labor force growth. Immigration can help address labor shortage in certain industry, contributing to economic growth. Second is cultural diversity. Immigration enriches cultural diversity, leading to a more vibrant and dynamic society. Third is innovation. Immigrants often bring new ideas, skills, and perspectives, fostering innovation and entrepreneurship. Disadvantage for the receiving countries. Strain on resources. Large-scale immigration can strain public service such as healthcare, education, and housing. Second is social tensions. Immigration can sometimes lead to social tension, especially if there are cultural or economic difference between immigrants and the native population. Third is integration challenges. Assimilation immigrants into society and the labor market can be challenging, leading to issue of unemployment or underemployment among immigrant population. It's important to note that the impact of immigration can vary greatly depending on the specific circumstance of each country and the policies in place to manage it.
So, good day everyone, and especially to you, sir. My topic is all about the advantages and disadvantages of sending and receiving of the countries. So, the advantages of the sending countries is skills and knowledge transfer. So, migrants often bring back valuable skills, knowledge, and experiences acquired abroad which can contribute to the development of their home countries. So, second is reduce unemployment. So, migration can alleviate unemployment pressures in sending countries by reducing the labor supply, particularly in case where there is excess labor. So the third one is diaspora networks. So migration fosters the creation of the diaspora networks which can facilitate investment, trade, and cultural exchange between sending and receiving countries. So the disadvantages of sending countries is brain drain. One of the most significant disadvantages is the loss of skilled professional and talent, often referred to as brain drain. This can exacerbate skill shortages and hinder development efforts in sending countries. So, second one is dependency. So, over-reliance on remittances can create dependency and may discourage domestic investment and economic diversification. So, the third one is social impacts. So, migration can lead to the separation of families, social disruption, and loss of cultural heritage in sending countries. So, the advantages of receiving country is labor market needs. Migration can help address labor shortages in receiving countries, particularly in sectors with high demand of workers but low domestic supply. Next one is economic growth. So migrants contribute to economic growth by filling essential roles, paying taxes, and stimulating consumer spending. The third one is cultural diversity. Migration enriches cultural diversity, fostering innovation, creativity, and cross-cultural understanding in receiving countries. So the disadvantages of the receiving countries is strain on public services. So large-scale migration can strain public services such as healthcare, education, and housing, leading to challenges in service provision and infrastructure development.